Hello, everyone. Once again, here in the Naiz Podcast, a podcast where we discuss about the business of fashion, this crazy industry that we are in. And as you know, we try to bring interesting people to the podcast coming from different backgrounds. And today we thought it was a good idea to bring someone from a sector, let's say, inside the fashion industry that is super hot now, which is second-hand sales in the fashion industry. And to do so, we are super lucky to have a friend and a reference for me, for sure, someone that I asked 2,000 questions not so long ago, who is Lourdes Ferrer, the CEO and founder at Percentil. Lourdes, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thanks to you, I feel especially lucky to be here. I thought you were going to call me before, but I'm happy. I'm happy now.
We were keeping our aces for later.
Okay.
Okay, for those who don't know you, Lourdes, what is Percentil?
Well, we founded this company in 2012, so you can imagine it was a moment where secondhand was something very crazy for a startup. So what we do is we buy and sell secondhand clothing online on a managed marketplace business model, which means that we buy and sell, but we intermediate. So we do all the work for both shoppers and sellers. We collect the clothes from the private people's homes or picking points. We receive the clothes in our warehouse. We open the bags. We identify those items that are perfect to be sold in our platform. So everything has to be almost like new. We assign a lot of features. We take a lot of pictures. We store those items in our warehouse, and then we publish them in our platform, and we sell them as if it was a normal fashion store, with the specialty that every item that gets sold, we pay a percentage of the price that the shopper paid for it. We pay it to the seller, and that we have around 9,000 different brands normally active in the shop, and we already received around 60,000 brands in these 11 years. We are present in Spain, France, and Germany, and we've experienced how secondhand has been booming, in the past years.
Amazing. So that's pretty much what makes you different from other secondhand platforms like Vinted or other companies, right? That you manage the whole process.
Yeah, that's it. So I tend to exactly to explain it like that, no? So everybody knows Vinted. So it's like Vinted, but with the difference that we do all the work, and our goal is to make it really massive. So to make the most amount of people to change their shopping habit, and especially in fashion, which makes so much harm in the environment. And to make it really massive, we think that we have to make it really, really easy, and not everyone has the time or the will to be taking the pictures, answering messages from other potential shoppers that ask you to lower the price and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So is that why you started Percentil? Trying to be part of that change, or what was the reason?
Well, it was part of my way of consuming or my way of living. I always liked secondhand, and I became a mother of twins back in 2008, and we had a lot of expenses, but we also believed in it, so we bought the trolley. The trolley was secondhand, and many different things. And regarding clothes, so we saw that the only option that we had was buying clothes from eBay at that time. So it was very complicated, and you needed to buy like a group of clothes, and it could take up to 2-3 weeks to receive something home. We saw that in the US and in north of Europe. So this kind of business model was already existing and was successful. So we thought, even though in Spain there's not much environmental conscious, it's a financial crisis. So people were needing to buy really cheap. So we thought it was a good moment.
Mm-hmm. And how were those first steps? Like, what were like the first challenges?
When you start a business, like I always say, it's like the sweetest moment, no? Because, or at least for me, because I enjoy so much building things from scratch. So there's no issue. Everything is a challenge, no? Because you have nothing, and especially for us, we had no company close to us that could be a reference. So we needed to learn everything on our own. We needed to find out. So the first challenge was to get money from investors, no? Because secondhand, nobody believed in it. It was a little too early. It's also true that when you have, like as an entrepreneur, when you have big companies in the US that are doing a good work, like that's also adds up something for the investors, no? Yeah. So I believe that was one of the reasons why they invested on us. And it was challenging to create all that process, no? Create all the process where you receive the clothes and you add all these different features. I remember, like, the first year, we were adding all these features into an Excel file, and it was 7 people at the same time working against the same Excel file in real time.
Companies were built upon Excel.
Yeah. It's a great tool. Is
it hard to start like a second-hand business, like bootstrap it, or do you think it's like mandatory to raise funds, like in the early stages of the company?
Well, it depends so much, no, on the business model. In our case, it was really tough to make it profitable. So to be growing organically at that moment on our own without investment, no. So this kind of strategy where you try to add more value so that when you get investment, the company has a higher valuation, for example, no. It was not possible in our case, and at the same time, we didn't want to do it like that, because it's my third entrepreneurship, and I already bootstrapped on the first 2. So I really wanted to try a different type of entrepreneurship. Bootstrapping is really hard. So, and I think, like, for such an ambitious project, no, where you really want to create a revolution around the fashion industry, you cannot do it on your own. And it was really important at that time to be the leaders, no, which took us to be able to get money from the best investors, and was a blocker for our competitors too.
No, and if you see the industry, or at least what I've seen, like ThreadUp, Vinted, or even Wallapop, which is not specifically fashion, but they do also fashion, all of them raised loads of money to.
Yeah. And they still do.
And still do. Yeah. Sure. Do you think this is like a winner takes all kind of market? Like one competitor will be like leading the market, and then there will be like smaller companies, or do you think there's like space for many competitors?
I think there's space because it depends on how much secondhand clothing you are able to source, no? So it's more like a sourcing kind of business, and if it's a real good question, because thinking long term, if the fashion industry moves towards what they will need to move because of the European regulation that is coming, to a kind of product that is more long lasting, and the customer is educated well enough to be able to keep that clothes home, because many clothes are being thrown away because we don't take care of them correctly. then we will have a higher proportion of the items that have been produced that can be then reused, no? So that makes the secondhand fashion industry that maybe could be like being positive, looking into the future, at least half as big as the first-hand fashion industry, no? So now there are very few players, even though some of them are not so small. There's a big company in Germany, for example, I mean in Europe, and there's another one in Bulgaria, which is the one that ThreadUp acquired, no, 1.5 years ago. But they're still really, really small compared to what we have in the fashion industry, no. So I think it's not easy for a company on itself to be able to cope with all the sourcing machine that is needed to collect all the secondhand clothing.
How big is it now? Like if we consider 100 garments being sold right now, how many of them would be secondhand? Approx.
Wow, I don't have that figure, but they say that in the closets, in average, there's 5% secondhand.
5%.
5% globally, but I think Europe is lower. So yeah. So that comes from numbers from the US. So but it's changing. So it's, and not only for secondhand, also like the rental services and so on. In that business models are even slower, no, right now than what we are achieving on secondhand.
No, that's loads of space to grow.
Yeah.
I thought it was bigger. Like, to be honest, I thought it was already like 10 to 15% or something like that. Less than 5.
No, maybe in the US, but not in Europe.
And to understand how did like Percentil grow, let's say in these years, taking into account, I don't know, like number of references that you've been or processing or selling, whatever you can tell us, to understand how you grew from 2014 up to today, understand the volume of garments that you can be handling. What would those numbers be?
Yeah, we were very lucky because we had this magical number when we had our 10th anniversary last year, that we achieved the figure of having filtered 10 million items already.
10 million items.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's crazy. So this number has grown a lot since we are starting to handle clothing that comes from business to business, no? Since we're starting to partner with companies, the capacity big companies have of collecting. That's why we were talking about the difference between first hand and second hand, no? And how important they are on making the revolution possible, no? And how we need to go together. Now we are collecting around 50 tons monthly from companies. The main ones being CNA and Tendam, especially Springfield, where we grew the partnership to almost 70 shops in Spain and Portugal this year. Okay. And we are talking with many companies. You know, B2B is never fast.
But so going back to this B2B business, how does it work?
Yeah, we offer, well, first of all, which is something we didn't speak about yet, we were, our main shareholder is an industrial partner, which is a very big company with headquarters in Switzerland called TechSafe. They are 50 years old. It's a family business that has become very big, 1,000 employees. And they have different companies throughout Europe and also in the US. And their main expertise has to do with sorting clothing sorting. No? So they have sorting plants in Europe, different countries, where they collect clothes from containers, 13,000 containers in Europe. And so I can say, especially now, that it's a very good partner to have. It wasn't so clear when we started working with them because they are like completely B2B. But now that we are focusing more on this, so it's easier that we go together with them because they have experience in all sorts of partnerships. So when I say all sorts, they are able to create clothing ranges from post-consumer clothing waste, no? They are able to give services regarding overstock to companies, regarding reselling second-hand clothing that they collect from the shops. They can also create pop-up stores in retail stores throughout Europe. And we now in Spain, the main service we are offering from Percentil has to do with what we in the sector call the take-back system, which is collecting the clothes from the shops, sometimes directly from the shops, sometimes from their logistics centers. They join it there and we collect it from there. And then we're starting to offer also digital services like being able to offer value-added services to their customers, like we can offer for free to collect their clothes from their homes, and when the clothes come to our warehouse, then we can offer different kinds of like affiliation programs with them, or converting the Percentil money into the brand's money. So there are so many different things that we are talking about. These digital services we haven't started yet, but we are talking like with 5-6 different companies since 1 year ago. I hope at least half of them we close something shortly. I think we will, because everyone is very interested. And we've been noticing, so when I started knocking into the doors 2 years ago, in this sense, and companies were telling me, well, we are a big company, everything moves so slowly, it's really interesting, but I will let you know if it moves and so on. Now it's like, when are we doing this? When are we doing this? It still goes slow, but the interest is much.
But what's like the business model like? So you charge like a monthly fee to the brands for this, like making this second-hand process. You activate like a kind of a shopping shop inside the e-commerce of the brand where they can do the second-hand, but it's powered by you in the backend. So how's like the business model?
Well, first thing, let's say, I like to be very honest, with everything I talk about with my business and around. And first of all, let's say that what we're doing here is like a long-term investment, no? So it's not something that's changing our life in terms of profitability, no, for us. We are really flexible on offering different kind of partnerships to the companies, money-wise, let's say. It depends a lot on the quality of the clothes we are collecting, depending on that. So we usually have like this 6 months testing period where we ourselves currently are assuming the risk of paying for all that, collecting all those clothes, no? Because those clothes could be a really bad quality, and it could be, we could lose money there, but we think it makes sense, and we also have a big company behind, no, to support that risk. And then if the quality of the clothing we are collecting pays the collection of the clothes, the sorting, and so on, our goal would be to be able to source clothing at an easier way, at a more scalable way. Imagine, so every time we collect clothes from a private seller, it has to be one by one. Often, like when it's the closet change period, we need to invest in marketing to be able to get those clothes. So that's an extra cost. If we partner with a big company, we are able to scale that a lot, no, in terms of costs. Even though the quality we get from those is much worse than the one we are getting with private sellers that know our project, they are committed to us, they receive like there's more, I don't know, I'm sure like there's a perfect marketing word for this, but there's not so much like closeness with the brand, no, with our brand. And people, I like to say that people tend to be quite rule compliant, no? So when you tell them to do something on a particular way, they tend to want to do it correctly, no?
Yeah, I agree. Well, I hope.
Yeah.
But okay, super clear. But then, because I see there's loads of brands trying it on their own, or at least starting to do these steps, or like, hey, you can leave your, like me, Borja, I can leave my whatever brand T-shirt in the store. I get like a voucher, like a 20 euro voucher to spend in the store, and they open this e-commerce site, like if it was like an outlet, but instead of outlet, it's like a second-hand site, no? So the question is, do you think that this is going to be more and more and more common? And do you think, if the answer is yes, do you think it's going to be more like brand-led, or do you think they will be looking for more partners like Percentil to help them in this journey?
I think they're crazy. So I think, well, if I put myself in their place, I can more or less understand why they're doing it. First of all, because they think it's not so difficult, and second, because they want to test it. No, if how do their customers receive it? What kind of quality they receive? But in the end, so I have several examples in the industry from companies, some middle-sized company, and some of them really, really big, with big press releases going on that everyone was talking about. So what happened with this company? And they stopped it, because what happens is that it's so you need to be so excellent in this business model to be able to make it profitable, that on this like economic crisis times we are living, you don't want something in your balance that makes your numbers look worse, no? So and it's also very focus consuming. And what's happening is that there's very good intentions from the managers, from the companies, from the CEOs. Like it sounds really good, no? To start a secondhand project on their own and so on. And I even spoke with like, I don't know, the COO for a company, the CTO, and they tell me, yeah, I know that it would be better to do it with you, but our CEO is so obsessed with this idea, no? And yeah, and I know this is real, because they do come back, no? They do come back asking for help.
Well, that's in any case, I believe that it's also good news for you if even brands do it on their own. They are at least educating the customer, no, the buyer and the seller, that this is an option. So I believe that's also a good news. But when you say that they fail, I don't need to know the names, no? But where do you think they fail in this process? Is it like with the sourcing of good garments? Is it with the quality control? Is it with selling then those garments? Where do you think like the key issue or the hardest issue is for them?
Well, it's a business model that is very intense on customer service related to the seller.
To the seller.
Yeah. So these kind of companies I'm thinking about, they don't have the issue of being able to receive a lot of traffic or a lot of clothes, because they have the customer database. So that's not an issue. But being able to give a good service to the seller, so that this seller experience does not damage the shopper experience. It's not so easy, no? And then they come to the situation where they realize that they have always been moving on the let's say like the sweet side or the soft side, where they were offering nice garments at a decent price, with good logistics and delivering on a fast speed and so on. And then they have something with which the customers are not so happy, no? Because maybe they expect that they are going to be paid more. So many items are being rejected because their shoppers do not like them. So it's a complete different business model. And there's also this other part, which is the operations. So you also need to be excellent in operations. So you know that back in 2016, we bought a German company. These kind of crazy things we used to do. So this company was, and they were German, so, and they were like very committed with the process and so on. Well, their efficiency in the process, and they had been doing that for 4 years. It was 4 times less efficient than us. And talking to a couple of companies that already tried to do this, and also even like our main shareholders who also tried. It's very, very difficult HR wise to cope with the different periods, like the peak periods and the valley periods, where you are receiving more or less clothes, where you have a process that has different stages, 4 or 5 different stages, and you need to cope with the different profiles to see if they are versatile, to be able to combine one role with another whenever you have sick leaves, holidays, whatever. If you try to make that, to solve that with temporary workers, for example, that makes the cost go up, and the business model cannot accept that because margins are so low. So there's a lot of different issues related to that, which in the end makes it less attractive. It's not what they've been doing, and it's not something. So these kind of companies, they are normally experts in logistics because they have a big online part, no, in their structure, but they think they're able, no, because in the end it's a logistic factory. No, it's like a fulfillment factory, only with a different kind of process. But they think they are going to become millionaire like this, and it's not that easy because it takes a change of mentality in the population, and it will take, I think, maybe 10 to 20 years to really make this happen. So you really need to believe in this long term as a company.
Agree. Now, I know that it's going to be repetitive for you because I've seen the process, and I have to say it's amazing. It's crazy how you were able to industrialize all this garment processing. But to get a better understanding, could you explain us like what happens when you get a bag of clothes from a seller? Because this is something that makes it different from what people have in mind, no? Like a Vinted or a B2C or a peer-to-peer process. No, you're not a peer-to-peer.
Yeah.
So what happens there?
Okay, you haven't been in the new warehouse though.
No.
Which is much more impressive.
I have to say that I'm really looking forward to that because I was in the small one and I remember that you told me like this is like the trial because we want to go bigger. Lourdes is not from Madrid.
Yeah. So we currently have 130,000 unique references in the warehouse. So when someone wants to give a second life to their clothes, they go into our website. Like this is the normal experience, not with the company, not with partnerships with companies. So they go into our website. They can either ask for what we call like a shop selling kit, or they can send the clothes in their own box or bag if they don't want to wait for the. We send this kit folded in an envelope so it can fit in the mailbox, and they everything for free. So they receive this kit like in around they receive it in Spain, France, or Germany. They receive it in around 4 to 5 days. In that envelope, they have all the instructions of what kind of clothes we can accept. We accept almost all brands.
Mm-hmm.
So we only don't accept brands that are really, really cheap firsthand. So imagine if a t-shirt costed you €5, how much can you sell it now secondhand? So we don't cover our costs with that. Mm-hmm. Summarizing, we ask them to send clothes that are that look like new, no?
Mm. And I have to say that the box is I used you, and the box is super big. I think I put like in that box in that packet. I think it was like more than 50 garments. It was crazy.
Yeah.
How many fit in there? It came to my house like in this small envelope. So.
Yeah. People get surprised because they tend to want more than one. Mm-hmm. And we say in the website like they fit an average of 40 items. So, and it's like this.
I ordered two, and then I did like 25.
You ordered two.
I was embarrassed of myself, not believing you. That I was like, I'm super big. There's no way that like 50 garments are entering in this box. They do. So
it's amazing. And if you hold it, so you can see that it's like the maximum weight someone can carry walking into the street, no?
Yes, without lying.
Yeah. So then we give the option of collecting the clothes from the people's homes directly, mm-hmm. or they can take it to a picking point. Mm-hmm. So they just go into our site. They ask for the collection. We collect it on the next day after they ask for it. Mm-hmm. So it's like luxury service. Imagine someone going there.
I got the box like in 2 to 3 days. It was fast.
And someone going to your house and you just handle the clothes. So it cannot be easier, and you don't have to pay a penny. Mm-hmm. So then it arrives to our warehouse. We receive on a daily basis around 5,000 items. We open the bag. We identify each one of we filter the items to see if they accomplish our requirements. Mm-hmm. More or less around half of them do, which is a lot.
Half of them do. The other half.
The other half, what we do, like originally when we started the business, or in the first 6 years, we donated all the clothes, and there were even like social projects that were built from scratch to assume all the clothing that we were able to give to them, and it was really amazing the amount of projects that we were able to achieve there. We donated 3 million items, but then it came the moment where the investors told us that we needed to be profitable. So then that magic period ended. So we needed to look for different solutions because we were collecting those clothes for free, and that's so expensive. So what we now do is we handle those clothes back to our shareholder because they are experts on this. So being able to separate all those clothes so that from this 50% that we send them, they are able to reuse in other markets 60%. So that's already a lot. So we wouldn't be able to sell those online, because online, like, things need to be perfect because you need to offer free returns. You know how that is. Mm-hmm. So if it has a tiny flaw or whatever, then it could be a problem. Mm-hmm. So they get that. They pay cents for every kilo, but that gives us some money to be able to recover the costs of collecting the clothes for free. And then there's a small percentage of customers that we call the VIP sellers. that are especially good to us because they either send us very good stuff that sells very quickly, or they send luxury items, or they send items that are very well filtered, so they have a low rejection rate.
Mm-hmm.
We donate those clothes, those rejected clothes, to different social projects.
Mm.
Yeah. So,
is there any like Pareto rule here, like not like 80% of our income comes from 20% of brands or 20% of types of apparel? Like, do you have these kind of rules, or like best sellers or something like that? Or is it super spread between types
it's
of?
quite spread in terms of sales. And it's very interesting because we do sell a lot of winter items in summer and vice versa. Yeah. It's not like we don't sell the same, of course,
Yeah.
but it's not like opposite. It's not like you are publishing clothes from the opposite season and you are not selling any. So we're still selling a lot.
Okay.
So that kind of rule, we have it with the brands. So I said that we have 8,000 to 9,000 active brands, but like 20% of the brands represent 80% of the stock. No?
Okay.
And
that's like more like fashion, like high-end luxury brands, or is it like mid-market brands?
I would like it to be more luxury,
Okay.
but it's not. So luxury brands represent around 5-7%.
Okay.
We have 8 different price ranges, but the majority of the brands are, let's say, like Zara price, similar to Zara. And it's very interesting because I have one of my female entrepreneurs from a group I belong. They say, look, Percentil is not buying and selling secondhand clothes. It's a huge fashion database, sociological study, no? So it's what you see in Percentil is everyone's closet, really, no, from each one of the markets. Yeah. So for example, Zara, Mango, and H&M, only those 3 represent 20% of the shop. That's amazing. It's crazy.
You will end up selling data. I am telling you.
Yeah.
We are pure B2B, but data seller. And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, data is like our gold mine that we're keeping. Especially when we've been like, we started working on everything related to pricing algorithms quite early, like back in 2014 when we were only 2 years old.
Yeah, and this was not like mainstream like it is today.
No. And still today, when I talk to these like dynamic pricing companies, they look at me with open eyes like, what are you fucking talking about?
We're doing this like 10 years ago. No?
Yeah. But it's, I mean, like, this is what keeps me in the project. So many challenges. Yeah. So we started so early, and we've collected so much data regarding everything that you would like to do that has to do with artificial intelligence and machine learning. So we keep all the pictures from almost forever, all the features, all the different inputs on the products visits from 10 years ago. Imagine what's that?
And this amount of garments, like thousands and thousands and thousands of garments.
Yeah, so when I say we manage 10 million items, so that's like the global number, no? But we almost sold 5 million. So 5 million have been published in the site and have their own data points that you can use for so many purposes, no?
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
And going to the customer side of things, because we didn't cover the customer that much, but I mean customer, the buyer. You in the end, you're not only you're like a two-sided marketplace, no? You need sellers and you need buyers. You need both. And I'm surprised because we've been talking a lot about the business in general, or even like a B2B perspective, but you said quite a lot of times there's a challenge in the sourcing. There's a challenge with the seller. The seller is not that easy. So do you think like the biggest challenge is the seller or the buyer to you?
Well, it's true that managing the seller is a challenge, but it's also true that there are no, and I think I can say this completely. There are no other solutions as easy as ours. No, so that where you have it so easy and you have it for free. That someone collects that from your homes. So even though our seller NPS is not the best, because we have a great shopper NPS, but the seller is not the same, but they still send us their clothes. So the main challenge still is on the part of that buying secondhand clothing is still not mainstream. So that a majority of people still think whether clothes are going to be dirty or they still have. So there's a big challenge also related to how deep secondhand clothing inventory is, no? How deep in the user experience, no? That makes it vital that you have strong recommendation tools that make customers go really deep into the catalog. And there's also another challenge which is related to SEO. So, and I faced the same thing with my previous company that was even freaker, which we sold items and clothing for families with twins and triplets. And
a niche inside the niche.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it's a good example to illustrate this, which is you are trying to create something that does not exist. So nobody was selling this kind of stuff online. So nobody was looking for it. And the same happened until a short ago with secondhand. No? So I remember with the twins that afterwards, when we were working so hard with the SEO, and then when someone was looking for something about twins in the internet, we had the complete first and second pages in Google. There was nobody else. Yeah, but that does not happen now, no? And so what happens now in our business model compared to a pure marketplace, for example, they have so much more inventory that can help on the long tail SEO, no? And that's a big competition on the traffic acquisition.
So if you would go back in time, would you be focusing first in the seller and then wait for the buyer to come in, or you would have focused on the buyer first? I know you have to focus on both at the same time, no?
Yeah,
but if you one, which one?
You mean if I created the company today, for example? It's a very difficult question because I also have this theory where I feel like for every business model you need to focus on the need that's so obvious, no? On the real need. And where do you have the real need? It's not on buying clothes. So people don't need to buy secondhand clothes. Because why would someone buy secondhand clothes? Because it's cheap and because it's more environmental friendly. The more environmental friendly part, we said it's still minimum, no? On people's minds. And the cheap part, so it's crazy the amount of discounts retail fashion is applying, especially this time, no? You know why? Like we could go talking a lot about
that's
that.
That's another podcast.
That's another podcast. Yeah, but I think that when you are able to cover the need people have of getting rid of their clothes that they don't want to wear anymore, they create their account. They already know your platform. They have their things, their data, their address, their whatever inside. You are communicating with them, then you have them.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, you can build whatever. Mm-hmm. But you were able to catch their need, no? Mm-hmm. Which is where everything starts.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but if we go to the buyer side, now that the seller is kind of clear, who's your buyer? Like, who's buying from Percentil? Who's the customer? Because I think that by asking this, I'm gonna get surprised because it's probably not going to match what I think. So,
what do you think?
So, easy answer would be 35 to 45-year-old woman, super conscious with super environmental friendly, and doing this as a way to fight against fashion establishment. That's like what my heart wants to answer. My brain tells me that it's probably going to be younger, super price sensitive, and even looking to wear cool stuff that it's been outdated now. But you know that fashion is cycle, no? So that's what my head is telling me. So probably
it's not so far away from your heart answer.
Okay.
Yeah, because we started. So there's still hope.
Yeah.
Because we started with kids' clothing, so we have a lot of moms. And people are becoming a mom later nowadays. Yeah. So our whales, no, our best shoppers are between 30 to even 50 years. And many moms, so like 60% of our customers are moms. Okay. And that's at least of our active customers, mm-hmm. because they buy for them, for their kids, and for their husbands or couples.
For the whole family, yeah.
For the whole family. So their repetition rate is much bigger. So they are much more profitable for us. Mm-hmm. I don't think they are so much environmental friendly. So that would be like our ideal customer, but they do buy because of the pricing, and they are and they find like special things and so on that they don't find in other websites. Mm-hmm. And I also think that it's sometimes what it happens is like, you may not be a very like environmental conscious person in your normal life, mm-hmm. but then you start buying in a shop that is interesting for you for other reason. Yeah. For example, in this case, price. Mm-hmm. And then you realize that you're feeling good by doing that. And then you do it more because it copes with both needs, no? The price and the...
Fully agree with this idea. And I was discussing about this with a friend, saying that he said that like sustainability in general is not like such a driver to make the purchase. And I was telling him, I agree, but it's probably a huge tool for retention. That it's
absolutely
not like that. Like absolutely. You see sustainability in the news, and it's like, damn it, put it in the newsletter to your current customers.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
To doing this, you achieved this, no? Thanks to buying, you did this, or you had this environmental impact. That's probably the powerful tool nowadays. We are not ready as customers to do extra prices or assume extra prices for sustainability, but we are to complement the rest of the brand experience. So that's
absolutely, and that's so strong and so powerful. So if you ask my team, they will tell you I'm constantly. But where's the space for the environment sentence, no? Because until, I don't know, 2017, 2018, we were buying and selling secondhand clothing, and we were not talking about climate at all. Yeah. And then one day I realized that everyone was talking about sustainability because they were delivering with cardboard boxes, and I was like, but am I stupid? No, and it's like that. So changing the way I say this, like it's also important that to sound honest to your current customer. So nothing sounds more honest that you are adding value with something that is real. So you're selling them secondhand clothes. And you are not talking about environment in the first time you talk to them. So you're really offering a real service, a real product. And then afterwards, you know what, with this, what you did, we achieved this together and so on, no?
Super interesting. Super interesting. Okay, Lourdes, we're getting to the end of the podcast, unfortunately. So before we close up, before I ask you like a couple of closing questions, I wanted to invite you to share anything else if you want that you think it's interesting for you, or if you want to send any message to the world. Stage is yours.
I would say when you find out, you discovered so for the final consumer, no, when you discovered a brand you connect with, and you see it's something valuable to you, be generous and share it with the people, no, because I see often that people go into Percentil, and as every item is unique, they don't want to share it with their friends. So please, so the bigger we are, the more time we will be able to give you a good service and a good product, and we will be able to extend this way of consuming. And for the companies, please don't waste your time. Come to us. We are experts. We have been doing this for the past 11 years. And you will see that we will be a great partner.
Amazing. Well, people out there you go. Okay, and to close up, I'm going to be asking you a bit of weird questions, probably, that we like asking. Okay. It's going to be quick, I promise. So the first one is, which is your favorite moment in fashion history? And it can be past or it can be future. For example, to me, is Michael Jordan launching its own brand. To me, that was a game changer.
Wow. So I need to improvise this one.
Yeah.
So the best moment in fashion industry. Now I'm remembering and I'm improvising. Probably after the podcast, I will think about it and I will say I should have said whatever. But the moment the needle was invented, no?
Okay.
So the needle that was invented out of bone, and it was the first step for the human being to be able to wear clothes and protect themselves from climate and also from fights from other animals and so on. That started everything, no? So that's when fashion started.
I have to say that's, I think, the best answer I got so far. Okay, which is your next question? Which is your favorite garment?
The dress.
Dresses? Okay.
Yeah, dresses, because I'm a lazy person in terms of wearing every day. You know, when fashion designers dress on black.
Yeah.
And you say, but why are they so creative and then they're not with themselves? I'm that kind. So I would wear a uniform every day. So if I have to wear a dress, it's just less pieces, no?
Yeah, it's only one decision. Yeah.
Only one decision, that's right.
Good answer. Okay, which is or if you had to recommend a book or a TV series, which one would it be?
I like very much minimalism, for example.
Okay.
It's a documentary, Netflix documentary.
Uh-huh.
It makes you aware of how few things you really need on a daily basis. Please, customers, don't tell me now that I'm constantly throwing promotions so that you buy. But I really recommend this one, and I think it's also related to being conscious on how you consume and how you live.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, the next one, and there's only two left. The next one is going to be, which one would be your favorite or a quote that you have super like tattooed in your brain?
Borja, I'm going to kill you. You know this.
The best thing here is to improvise. It's to make it natural. So
Okay,
it can be
improvising a
what I want
quote.
to tell you. Like, I mean, that's a quote that you can use.
I'm thinking one that I like a lot, but I'm not sure what the exact sentence is, which is about Groucho Marx, which is these are my conditions, and if you don't like it, don't worry, I have another one.
That's pretty much B2B sales, like in a sentence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, and the last one, and with this we'll say goodbye. Lourdes, if you had to think of someone we should try to bring to the podcast, who would you nominate?
In the fashion industry, of course. I would nominate. There's someone I met short ago, but she impressed me a lot. Who is Carolina Arellano? I think it's the surname. She's the brand manager of Springfield, and she's been working in the fashion industry for long. I think she has a lot of interesting things to talk about.
Okay, amazing. We will contact her, I can promise. Okay, well, everyone, thank you very much for being there with us. And especially thank you, Lourdes, for your time. It was amazing listening to you, and I hope this is only the first one of many. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I hope so. Thanks for inviting me.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.